morning and welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and those who identify otherwise, for what will surely be a spectacular evening of racing here at Simsport Racing International. It is season finale time, and what a season we have had so far. Lots and lots of great racing, tons of action, and a few controversial incidents, we must say, we have seen over the course of this season, but heading into this final round, everything is still to play for. Both the pros and the semi-pro championships are still wide open. The pros, it will be somewhat unlikely that Michael Thomas doesn't run away with it after tonight, but you never know what could happen. Only 10 points between him and Brent Quanton in second place in the pro class. But as semi-pros, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a season finale we have for you with these guys. Top 7 in the semi-pro class are separated by just 10 points. Theoretically, it is also play for all the drivers in the top 7, but for 6th and 7th placed Parties and Peters, it will be somewhat unlikely that they would take it. They would need both of these guys to finish first and second, and then with a driver outside of the top 7 to finish between themselves and Thomas van Schaik to secure a championship win. But from 5th and up to 1st, only 5 points separate these drivers, with Thomas van Schaik on 56 and all the following drivers on 51. Eric Latil, Bas van Melis, Martin van der Gaan, and Andy King. So anything is to play for there. Thomas van Schaik needs a second place tonight to secure first, but you never know what happens. All of the other drivers have the theoretical chance, and Thomas doesn't look too sharp in practice, I must say, or haven't looked too sharp in practice so far. So theoretically speaking, it's all up for grabs, and it surely will be. Obviously, we cross our fingers for some of the drivers more than others, as we have seen them so many times over the last couple of seasons, having terrible races and bad luck, but having the pace to actually compete for it. So an interesting race we have for you tonight. Speaking of the race tonight, Donnington Park, tight, technical, tricky, old school circuit. Lots and lots of great runoff areas, but also most of them are covered by grass and dirt traps, so it will be somewhat difficult if people go off. But here we go, a flying lap literally above the track. To have a look at Donington Park. Down the start-finish straight, pit exit could become a thing during this race through turn 1. We see here as the racing line actually cuts a little bit across the pit exit, which is somewhat tricky to calculate on. 2 right-hand corners. The third kink with the curbing on the inside can be difficult. Full throttle still through this left-hander into a tricky downhill into uphill braking zone. Elevation changes through this corner. Hard on the throttle again, full throttling through these 2 left-handers that we're seeing here. They don't look too sharp from up here, but I tell you, down on track, they are very difficult to gauge. Right-hand corner where we see many people go off track. Cones on the inside, and then this astroturfing on the outside. People have a tendency to stick 2 wheels just on the outside of that important braking zone here. Before a quick right-hander, this leads onto the long back straight off the track. Full throttling for quite a while, and remember, we are using the full circuit layout, so when we come to the end of this back straight, we turn left and right very sharply. Somewhat reasonable high speed. 2 cars running side by side through here loses a lot of time, so that's something that we'll look out for during the race. And then to finish off the lap, 2 very tricky 180-degree hairpins. Getting these corners right are very difficult. You have to be all the way on the left-hand side to get them perfectly, but then you leave the door wide open for the dive on the inside in both of the corners. So do expect overtakes to be seen in these 2 hairpins as we come around the final corner. Pit entry, not the most difficult on track, but you do have to be a little bit cautious if you're following a car close behind that will be diving in, as they will have to steer very sharply to the left coming out of the final hairpin. That was one literal flying lap around Donington Park, or as we should call it in the future, Chris Hill Raceway Donnington Park. I think that should be the official name of the track, but maybe we should call it the unofficial name of the track. people out there in YouTube, of course, if you have something to questions to be answered or something you need to say to the wider audience, let us know. Write it in the chat, and we will try to answer all questions and whatever you might have. Well, obviously, except for some questions, because here on SSRI, there are something called stupid questions. We cannot give you an answer to how to find world peace and stuff like that. Although it would be fun spending an hour trying to figure that out with you guys, but I guess that's not why we're here. We're here for the action-packed racing that we'll get to see this evening. We are very shortly about to head into qualifying, as the drivers are getting very, very ready out there behind the wheels of their very nice rigs. Or, well, some people might be on laptops, and look at this. Everyone trying to get out on track early, following Michael Thomas here. Not first in the queue, though. By far the biggest favorite for the race this evening. I would probably prefer having a front-engine car for this track, as Michael Thomas is set in, as they are a lot nicer over the curbs usually than the mid-engine cars. But let's see if he gets a good effect of that throughout this evening of racing. Something that needs to be mentioned, not that important for qualifying, but for the race, dipping two wheels over the side of the curbs. These curbs are very, very tall and very sharp, and that sometimes, or more often than not, I would rather say, results in slow punctures during the race. So interesting to ask the drivers after the race how it went with that. Track limit's also a big, big issue here. There are a few corners where you can gain quite a bit of time by just risking that little bit of extra when you go through them. And yeah, well, it's so easy to run a tiny bit wide, and that obviously results in the first track cut if you do so. 3 track cuts are fine, but the 4th one will obviously, or will obviously, and obviously if you haven't watched this before, then it's not that obvious, but it will give you a drive-through penalty. Ottleman, the first driver to start a flying lap. Let's see on board from Ottleman how this track actually looks from the driver's point of view. Into turn 1, very, very slidey Aston Martin, it looks like. I don't think he got tire temperatures up to where he wanted them on the out lap there. But around we go. Look at the speed. Leaves a little bit of room to the apex in that elevating corner. We can really see how we go uphill now. Onto the curb, going to the left, trying to get it stable under braking. Used a little bit too much steering there under braking. I would say try to trail brake a little bit more than necessary, but still manages to go through with a nice line onto the back straight as early on the throttle as possible, losing a little bit of rear end grip there, costing him maybe a 10th down the back straight by not getting the optimum traction into the left-right chicane. Look at this, the speed carry through there, that looked almost perfect. Now the 2 hairpins that we talked about a little bit earlier, all the way down into first gear, trying to hook it. Some drivers choose the double apex, not Ottleman here. I'm not entirely sure what is quicker, the double apex or just hooking it on the apex, but we surely will find out during this evening of racing. A little bit wide, maybe trying to set up for another flying lap there. He didn't hook it nicely, or it take the apex too well, but across the line we go. First lap on the board, 1:27 point something, already beaten by Walsh, race winner of Monza, of course, in the PS UK Ford Mustang. It is. Walsh also with championship implications, or at least with possibilities to jump further up in the standings. He's currently 3rd in the pro category, and 6 points behind Brent Quanton ahead of him. So that could be something to look out for during this race. Another interesting fact, our top 7 in the pro category are all different manufacturers in the championship standings. It's not that often we see that, but great to see the variety there of manufacturers running in the pro class. Also getting a good tow from Andrew Richardson down the back straight this time. I do believe Richardson is on a flying lap as well, so he will not have to give way to Walsh. Remember, if you're on a flying lap that's counting on the board, you are fully entitled to the racing circuit. driver behind are not allowed to force his way through. Neither are he. Does he have to leave you the room or let you go by? Bridgerson across the line, improving to 5th position. At the minute, Walsh backing off a little bit there. We saw through the final corner to give himself room to set another timed lap. Michael Thomas currently on provisional pole. Though further down the field, Prixley in the number 7 Wild Things Racing car. The only Wild Things Racing car, I believe, this season of SSRI. A bit unfortunate, as we do love this team with great liveries. Especially this old classic, the very deep dark blue, almost black color with the pink trimmings. The modern iteration of the livery would be the colors in reverse, which is also a stunning car to look at. It's quite easy to tell the Wild Things cars from the others, as pink are not the most commonly used color out there on the sim racing livery designers color catalog. Nevertheless, Prixley are going around the lap. Thomas van Schaik, leader of the semi-pro class, in points at least, gets out on track. Didn't look too sharp in practice, but that could just have been installation laps to check if everything was running okay on the rig. Coming out of the pit lane, of course, he'll have to do the out lap before he gets a timed lap, or at least an opportunity to set a timed lap. Which he will need to set, of course, as he haven't gotten a single timed lap in yet. Vargas, also one of the potential drivers for... well, everyone have potentials to move up and down the pro category, of course, but he is improving currently on his provisionally fastest lap. Not challenging for pole as of yet, but up by at least 3/10. Coming into the final corner. Let's see what he can get out of this. Start, finish straight. Nick Vargas jumps up to 5th position. And immediately beaten there by Prixley, who gets up into to 4th. I was about to say 7th there, but that's obviously just car number 7. That Nissan does have an opportunity tonight to shine. That would be one of the cars that would be interesting to follow. Tej Fredriksen, while we have been away and focusing on other stuff, put in the fastest lap of the session so far, 1:26 flat. Lift up the track sound a bit, is being mentioned in the YouTube chat, Mr. Hill. I assume that's something that can be done from your end. Although speaking of Regan Mitchell, he's out there on a flying lap at the minute, up by 2 to 3/10, and that would put him clearly on pole, at least clearly on provisional pole, if he can keep up momentum on his current lap. Though he does back out of it there for some reason. Maybe he was running low on fuel or invalidated the lap or something. He was up by quite a bit. That looked promising for Regan Mitchell in his Ferrari. Michael Thomas also improving at the minute. He could potentially jump up into provisional pole if he keeps up the pace. He does have a little bit of traffic ahead of him, though. Traffic is not on a flying lap at the minute, so they will have to give room for Michael Thomas if he gets close enough. Flashing the lights indicating that he's coming. Can be a little bit distracting when you're driving on a hot lap and you see other cars that, even though that they are not technically disturbing your lap time by being too close, you just have that little bit of focus on them. Ooh, and now it gets a little bit tricky there, with Michael Thomas actually having to deviate a little on the exit, still improving his lap time though. Chris Winning, while we've been speaking, have put it up to provisional 2nd. Let's see, across the start-finish line, Michael Thomas go. This does look promising. But that must have been invalid. That must have been an invalid lap, as he doesn't jump off. Wow. Maybe it was the contact later on. Walsh improves a little bit up into 5th position in the Mustang. Best placed Mustang at the minute. Artie's 2nd in semi-pro. At the timing boards, He was improving, but dropped off a bit there through the fast right hand onto the back straight in his Alpha Simsport Porsche, the Polish driver. Through the chicane he goes. Getting around, braking hard. Let's see, 2 corners to go for Mr. Parties. He needs to be let till for provisional pole and semi-pro. But I think he backed off there. Yeah, lap time was about a second off where it should have been to improve. So he must have backed off after. Maybe the chicane looked like he got that a little bit too tight. Second part, Andrew Richardson from 12th position. He is improving at the minute. Back up into the top 10 for Mr. Andrew Richardson, 7th place on the grid in the Mode 11 Mercedes. The 444 Mercedes, Andy King. Championship contender in the semi-pro class. Rounding the final corner, start-finish straight. Does he improve? 15th to 10th, provisional pole and semi-pro. Good lap from Andy King. Still over half a second behind Tej Fredriksson. We have seen Fredriksson's time isn't unbeatable, as we have seen both Michael Thomas and Regan Mitchell being up on their provisional best lap times by enough to challenge Fredriksson's time. Brian Schegerman in a Porsche, the 911 Porsche of the Czech 95 Racing team. Into the final hairpin. Can he improve? Can he jump up a few positions from 11th? Let's see. Up into 10th. Every position counts on the grid for a race like this, especially on a track like Donington. Not the easiest to overtake, but there are some areas where it's possible. Down the back straight into the 2 hairpins. Turn 1 as well, and if you're very, very sneaky, then the fast right-hander that starts sector 2, basically you can try the dive there. But let's see what will happen once we get there. Still 8 minutes of qualifying. Of course, qualifying determining the starting order for the race, determined by quickest lap times. The quicker the lap time you can set, the further up the grid you go. And no difference on pro and semi-pro here. If a semi-pro goes quickest, then he will of course get pole position, but very unlikely with the great bobbing we have had so far. The great classing system we have had so far. It seems very, very fair. It works out nicely, or at least have worked out nicely this season. Michael Thomas have jumped to the top of the timing board with a 125.667. That's a big improvement of Fredriksson's previous provisional pole time. Triple freeze on the point for of an improvement there. Nico Hanske on a fast lap at the minute. Ooh, I think he lost it there. Just carrying it just that little bit too much speed, and that seemed to be his downfall there. But still enough time to start another lap and get another shot of it though. Hanke is still improving though, up by 0.4 of a second. One of the 4 Ford Mustangs on track this evening. Of course, it being Nard Cox, Hanske, Walton. Well, who was the last? Are there only 3? Maybe there are only 3. I think there are only 3 Mustangs actually. Oh, and Treffers, Patrick Treffers. I forgot all about Patrick Treffers. How can we forget about Mr. Treffers? That should be a crime against humanity. Hanke into 14th. Speaking of Patrick Treffers, here he is. We are terribly sorry, Mr. Treffers, for forgetting about you, but Let's see what Mr. Travers can do. Not improving at the minute though. Across the line he will go. Currently 20th on the grid. Nard Cox yet to put a competitive lap time in. I wonder if Nard Cox will do the classic Cox and just start from the back and see how many positions he can crawl up during the race. Latil of the Pegasi Motorsports team. Final corner he goes around. Currently third in semi-pro class. Jumps up to, well, still third, but beats out Handke for a grid slot there. 14 for Latil. You can see that Sylvain's out there supporting the number 1 car, which of course is Eric Latil, who returns to garage to go for a final run, I would assume, on fresh tires. Following Michael Thomas around. Current pole sitter. I don't think he's on a hot lap at the minute. I think this is just an out lap, if I'm not mistaken. As on my timing board it says that his current lap is about 4 minutes long, so unlikely to see an improvement across the line. Oh, maybe that was an actual lap. It's clear to 1:25.7 there, the lap he was on, but still not enough to improve. As he goes once again, David Hill up into 7th in the Amigos Racing Team car, 555. Hill have had some great races so far this season. At least I remember seeing him on track being quite strong. Currently set in 5th position, or sorry, 6th in the Pro Championship behind Tej Fredriksen and ahead of Shigerman. Best result, 3rd place in round 3 at Zolder for Mr. Hill. Odelman exactly 1 second behind Michael Thomas. Truly a tight grid so far this evening. 1 second separates top 13, and basically all 22 drivers with competitive lap time within 2 seconds here in qualifying. The DSRT Kurt Peters from 19th currently. What can he do with under 3 minutes to go of time on the clock? Of course, if you start a lap time before the clock hits 0 or the timer hits 0, then you are allowed to finish your lap time. For people out there who are unaware, unlikely that anyone will be, but yeah, so you know, you know. Just so you know. One of the few BMWs out there on track this evening. Not a highly selected car this season. Only Kurt Peters and Bas van Melis have selected the BMW. But again, also only 2 Mercedes cars, so it's a good mix of manufacturers out there on the grid. I think that Porsche might be the most represented brand for once here in SSRI, or at least here in Tier 1, as we have 4 of those. Speaking of, Bas van Melis following the now famous Mode 11 livery on the BMW, it have become a modern classic. Bas does need to improve if he wants to put himself into a very competitive position for the Semi-Pro Championship. Through the chicane he goes. Does improve, finds a little bit of time there in the chicane. Into the 2 hairpins he go. Nice on the brakes, hits the apex. It always looked like that you could have gone quicker on the throttle coming out of these hairpins, but you just can't if you have tried it. If you have tried, you know. Or well, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Around the second one there was a little bit of time he could have found by throttling earlier. 17th. This will be the final lap of qualifying for Bas, as he does not have enough time to finish this one and start another. So all the drivers who are starting a lap from this point on forward will effectively be on their final lap of qualifying. All drivers with the P next to the gap from themselves and up to provisional pole sitter have already parked the car in the garage. The P stands for pits, if you should be unaware out there. And the word pit, or well, the reason why people goes box 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 on the radio in motorsports are actually because what does box mean? Pit box? No, it's a pit stop, and the box is sort of where you stop, but it comes from the German word Boxenstopp, which obviously means pit stop. And because Germans are so efficient, they chose to shorten it down to just box when they had to tell the drivers to come in. So that's a little bit of trivia for you guys out there watching. Very free of charge. I've been told by Chris Hill to tell you guys. Whoa, Van Schijk trying a little bit too hard there to find time. Current semi-pro championship leader not having the best of qualifying runs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in semi-pro. Will he start, as no semi-pro drivers behind him haven't set a lap time yet? Michael Thomas still out there hunting for an improvement here in on the final lap of qualifying. I'm not entirely sure if the lap time is actually valid that he is on at the minute, but he is trying. One more corner to go for Mr. Michael Thomas. And just practices pit entry. I don't think it was valid. Final driver, Martin van der Gaan, who have set himself up nicely. Currently second in semi-pro as he crosses the line to round off the qualifying session. Which also means the traditional when Oliver's commentating 5 minutes of commercial break between qualifying and race because of reasons. So we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors, or well, of nothingness. We'll see what happens. Chris, do something. And we are back with pictures of the grid lining up. Drivers will start rolling out shortly. But from top to bottom, the grid order goes like this. Michael Thomas in pole position, ahead of Fredriksson in second. Winning lines up in third with Mitchell next to him. Walsh in fifth with Vargas in sixth. Prixley in seventh in the number 7 car. Hill in the 555 McLaren takes 8th. Andrew Richardson in 9th, and then leader of the semi-pro class, at least on track, Andy King in 10th with Schegerman in 11th. Odelman in 12th. Van der Kraan in 13th, second in semi-pro and third in semi-pro Leadville. Hanke in 15th, Bas Vermelis next semi-pro driver in 16th, Parties in 17th, semi-pro driver, Juk in 18th, and then rest of the grid until Nart will be semi-pro. Peters 19th, Van Schaik championship leader of the semi-pros in 20th position overall, Travers 21st, Verhoeven 22nd, and Nart Cox trying the bottom to top challenge once again starts from the back row of the grid in 23rd position. This surely will be an interesting start to a race. Very, very tight corner. You often see that the people who are left to hang on the outside line coming into turn 1 will lose a lot of time there, as the inside line will be quicker when you go side by side through turn 1. So that will be fun to see. But Aston Martin on pole with the Lamborghini behind, the two SSRI liveried cars. Coincidental that it will be these two in first and second, as the drivers are running around the formation lap, trying to get heat and heat and temperatures into the tires and brakes. People go about this differently. Some people prefer weaving about to get the heat into the tires and massaging the tires into temperature. Others use the brakes a little bit more to do that, as you will need to heat the brakes of course as well. Having cold brakes and tires into turn 1 are never fun, as the drivers will shortly start lining up in double file formation, getting ready for the start of the race. Thomas there getting a little bit too far ahead of the pack and having to slow down, wait for the rest of the drivers, as we see the drivers lining up now, which means that we are very, very shortly about to be racing. Into the final corner we go, all the drivers checking the ABS, TC, engine maps, everything that it's set as it's supposed to, having the pit strategy sorted, and everything is ready for the drivers to go racing. So for the final time of Tier 1 this season, we are about to go racing! Good start from Fredriksson, but can he take the outside line through turn 1? Michael Thomas seems to have it so far covered off on the inside, and he does keep it. Fredriksson immediately have to go defensively for winning there, as we see the is that the Mustang of Walsh in 4th? Further down the grid we saw a car going slamming into the wall. I think that was Travers who got a bit unlucky there, having to go visit Mr. Barry R. Down it goes, winning challenges for second in the race, and looks to have passed Fredriksson, which means Michael Thomas does have some clean air already in front, and this is what none of the other drivers wanted to happen, as Michael Thomas is lethal when he gets a clear track to run in, where he can just pace himself down the back straight for the first time this evening of racing. We go, nothing so far through the hairpin. Let's see in the small picture if we see cars parked in the gravel. Doesn't look like it. Everyone got no. There's a single car there that have gone off. Hard to see who that was, but surely a car was off. I think it was Alderman. Did look like it, yeah, as it must have been, as it's all the way down with with Patrick Treffers now battling for last, or not to be last, we should say. Was it Partis maybe? I think it was Alderman. Yeah, now Alderman also drops in the timing board. Nearing the front of the field, Liam Walsh in 4th position in the 420 Ford Mustang, giving chase to Fredriksson. Trying to gauge him out a little bit, trying to see where he can possibly go for a move later on in the race. Speaking of, pit stops are required this evening. 1 mandatory stop with tire change. So likely we'll see most of the field coming into the pits at roughly the half-hour mark. But again, it's up to the drivers to decide when they want to come in for their pit stop. Prixley under heavy pressure from David Hill. Looking back from the roof of Prixley's car, one of my favorite spoilers to be said in this game, the big grand spoiler, T-spoiler of the Nissan old mounting of the spoiler on that car. No reverse mount or whatever you would call it, but yeah, truly a beautiful sight of the narrow support for it as well. Not as big of a wing as the old Nissan in the game, but still a massive chunkus of a rear wing on that car. Still under pressure, but it's difficult to find a way past here if you can't stay close enough through the corners, and that's what David Hill is trying to get as close of the ring of that Nissan as we see. Prixley are using all of the track and a little bit more to try and defend his position and gain a little bit of track time. Further down the fields we have battles as well that I think would be is that too cautious? That must be an it's Alderman, at least Treffers and Verhoeven, I think, in that freeway battle. Further down the field, speaking of battling, David Hill there looking very racy with Prixley. Trying to juke him a little bit there, left and right, trying to sell the dummy, but this allows Vargas into the fight as well. Now for Hill, he have to look a little bit in the rear view mirror as well. If he tries to set something up, maybe Vargas will try and take advantage of that and step his position. We can see that once again, Prixley putting a wheel into the grass. You don't want to be doing that too many times around this track, as snow punctures are a big thing here. Support in YouTube there for Kurt Peters as well, it looks like. He might have friends. Some minor scuffling and NASCAR style racing in the small picture in the bottom right hand side of the screen. As cones go flying everywhere, that's Alderman, that's the rear end of that, so that's Partis. That's Hill and Van Schijk, it must be in that battling. As now the move comes, slight contact goes around both drivers, both Prixley and Hill there, but both getting their cars somewhat in correct position again, and Prixley loses out all the positions there to the pack coming through. Same for Hill, of course, but ooh, look at that! That was Andy King. That's Andy King, leader of semi-pro, that goes straight out there. That allows Van der Kran to pass Andy King. I think, at least it looks like it. Yeah, I think that's Van der Kran in the red Ferrari there. So Van der Kran currently leading the championship for the semi-pros, as he goes very deep, then goes bowling. Big crash in the final hairpin. Prixley goes around once again, and that's the Porsche of Schegerman, I believe, as well, that went off there. So look at this close racing. This puts Bart van Mellis into current lead of semi-pro championship. Closely followed by Andy King in the Ferrari, and Van der Kran the other Ferrari behind, of course. But that is very quick. That changed around. Everyone in that top 7 in the semi-pro championship. they are on the edge of their seat tonight. They are pushing for it, as we can see. Maybe a little bit too much in some cases, but now it's always steady. Bas van Melis, also 10th overall at the minute for Van Melis. That burst will, but we can see that Andy King gets pushed around there by I think that could have been Juvik who did that. Ooh, not good for Andy King's chances. He will be fuming behind the rig of the car there. Ooh, Van der Kran goes off as well. Ooh, that's big damage to Van der Kran's car. That is definitely championship aspirations over for Van der Kran. Look at... We are back. Kurt Peters there. We see people, both Juvik and Hanke, coming into the pits from good positions in the race. They might try to go into the pits and get themselves some clean air. Currently, Kurt Peters are the closest. We are back and we're actually in an interesting situation now. That Bas van Melis actually doesn't need to defend that hard from Kurt Peters. And if Kurt Peters passes Bas and Bas still finishes second in the semi-pro this race, then Bas will still become champion as it stands at the minute. And if Bas finishes second in semi-pro and becomes champion from that, then he will actually be a champion that haven't won a single race. That would be an interesting fact. Speaking of Kurt Peters, he's already under severe pressure from Nart Cox. Nart, who started last on the grid. Down to 21 runners in this race. Van der Kran did manage to get the car into the pits and get it repaired. He is back on track. Though quite far down, we must say. Kurt Peters with Cox behind. This actually plays a little bit into hand for Van Schaik, who didn't look too sharp in practice nor in qualifying. He doesn't need too much more bad luck from the drivers ahead until he's up into that second place in the in semi-pro in the race, which would secure him the championship, of course. As Nart Cox actually gets a little bit pressured now from Latil. I wonder if Latil will try to put the move on and go for it, or if he will stay behind Cox. No pineapple on the pizza, I must say. No pineapple on the pizza. Well, maybe some ham and pineapple would be... No pineapple on the pizza, goddammit. Unless... No. Ottleman here, going defensive from Scheckerman into the hairpin. Scheckerman doesn't choose to try and hold it on the outside, just falls in behind. He'll set it up for the next hairpin. Shows himself on the inside, stays on the inside, and the contact is made. A little bit of argy-bargy there, forcing his way through, letting Alderman back past, showing good sportsmanship there. But that's how it goes on this track. Difficult to overtake on, which is very good for Bas. That he's currently 9th in the overall standings, and that 9th would be enough to secure the semi-pro championship. Of course, as we have said quite a few times, Michael Thomas doesn't look challenged for his championship in the pro category at the minute. But close action here in the for second place. That's Martin van der Kran giving room for the top 5 going through. Van der Kran knows that he's not in the race anymore for anything but the experience and having a good time. And of course, you never know what happens in a motor race. Other people could retire or get into incidents, so sometimes it's worth staying around to pick up the scraps. Maybe the championship win is a little bit of a far-stretched fantasy at the minute for Van der Kran, but doesn't need too much of bad luck for other drivers further up the road for him to snatch a few positions actually in the championship as he goes into the pits now, maybe to retire the car. We'll wait and see. But still on board with Mitchell here. It's not that fun being stuck behind another car around here, as you do get into the dirty air that makes the car a little bit more difficult to drive, especially through these high-speed parts of the track. See all the drivers almost putting a wheel into the grass. Prixley on the attack. Further down the field, Prixley on Parties. Parties is getting a little bit of a rear end loss of grip there, putting the slide on that helped Prixley go through. So Prixley back up into 16th position after the crash we saw earlier from him. Involved in 2 so far, none of them seem to be his fault though. Next man up for Prixley would be Van Schaik in currently 15th position and 4th in semi-pro. Not that the semi-pro classification means anything for Prixley as he is a pro driver, but you never know. And for Prixley to get up to the next pro driver, he will need to go through Van Schaik, or at least past him. Going through him might be a little bit too extreme, but you never know. If he wants to live up to the team name of Wild Things. Final hairpin. Does anyone go in now? Only 15 minutes away, though it would still be a long second stint if you box now. Van der Kran still in the pits. I think he have retired from the race. Unfortunate evening for Van der Kran. It have been very clean so far this season, though, I must say. But of course, with so much on the line for the final round, they all seem to be interested in going for it. Prixley in this battle, but Letil also in the battle for second in semi-pro at the minute behind Peters. Prixley there getting spicy. Trying for it in the big Nissan, allowing Parties to get back into the mix of this. Stuck between 2 Porsches are the Nissan driver. But let's see that top end of the Nissan usually helps it a bit coming into the chicane. Does go through, does Prixley there. Good driving. Setting it up nicely. Does Van Schaik lose another position now to Parties? It looks like he does leave the room, Van Schaik there. Parties on the inside, but Van Schaik with the better drive out of the corner. Final hairpin will decide that battle, it looks like. And Van Schaik just narrowly stays ahead. As the tail have dropped a little bit to Kurt Peters further up. Speaking of battling, that's Andrew Richardson and David Hill. The Amigos Racing Team driver David Hill behind the Mode 11 driver of Andrew Richardson. Both pro drivers, with David Hill actually being the best placed McLaren and the only pro driver to select the McLaren this season. Tugging into the slipstream, will it be enough to beat the AMG down the back straight? He does show himself, goes for the move. Difficult to stay side by side, they leave each other just enough room it looked like. Then David Hill goes through into 7th position. Richardson still on the inside though, not close enough to go for the immediate comeback into the hairpin. Further down the field, Schegerman now on Letil. I don't think Letil wants to give this up as he needs to stay with Kurt Peters. As Kurt is actually getting ever so... Ooh, there he goes wide, Letil does, and Schegerman goes through. Kurt Peters is actually not dropping off of Bas van Melis at the minute and is somewhat staying with Nard Cox. 4.5 seconds between these two drivers of the semi-pro class. Though Bas could let Peters go through and still maintain the championship lead of the semi-pros. Ooh, Letil really giving it everything. They're going a little bit wide, but still carrying the speed with 2 wheels on the grass. Getting close to Sugarman. They're close enough to go to the inside, coming into the right-hander, leading onto the back straight. Goes for it, takes position, but better run from Sugarman. Looked like Sugarman had to lift off that to avoid running wide onto the grass. So let's Hill back into 13 for 12th position, I should say, back into 12th. But with a big gap now up to pieces ahead of him. As we can clearly see here on the picture, Let's Hill in the McLaren, Peters in the BMW further up the road. Interestingly enough, in the semi-pro class, the two BMWs running this championship, they are both first and second in the semi-pros. Andy King, a man on a mission. He needs to get past championship leader Van Schijk next if he wants a shot of catching back up to the drivers further ahead. He might need a little bit of interference from at least Bas and Let's Hill if he wants this championship, but again, you never know what happens. We did see this last season in Tier 2 where it came down to the last lap and the penultimate corner, where the championship leader got spun around. In the rookie class, first time that class was run here on SSRI, and I don't think we're running it this season, but that surely was an interesting season finale for those drivers. Where it just proved that you really have to stay in it to win it. And big heartbreak moment there when we saw the driver go around. Honestly, can't remember who it was, if it was Silman or DeGore maybe, who got spun. Walsh are under pressure by Mitchell behind. Mitchell not with the greatest starts to this evening of racing. But still in it, of course, in the Ferrari. Only two Ferraris remaining in the race after the retirement of Martin van der Kraan. The Ferraris of Mitchell and Andy King, of course, those would be. But Walsh in the PS UK Esports Mustang. Fending off as good as he can. I wonder if the Mustang uses first in the hairpin around here. It is a little bit tricky with the gearing in the Mustang. And that you basically want to run the car on 0 TC. Sugarman on Let's Hill. Once again, these two are having a great battle, but not something that Let's Hill can really afford to lose time with if he wants a shot at the championship. He needs to get past. He needs to let Sugarman pass. Basically, if he feels Sugarman can go quicker in this race, we can use Sugarman to catch up to Peters and Van Millis further up the field. But they will shortly get company by Prexley, the man on a mission in the big Nissan behind. Interesting to see if Prexley can make a short progress of these drivers. Andy King behind Van Schijk still. Both cars with a little bit of battle damage on the rear end. But King looks to have a lot of pace. Sugarman goes into the pits. He got tired of being stuck behind Let's Hill, it looks like. About 8 minutes early on the optimum strategy. So let's see how that will impact his second stint in the race. He will of course go out into clean air when he rejoins the track. And on fresh tires, so it's a big undercut incoming from Sugarman. Andy King getting the better run than Van Schijk. Now looks to the inside. Who tries it on the outside maybe? He does try to hang it around. Still on the outside. Room is being left. We'll have to switch around for the inside now. Gets the run there, but nowhere to go with it as Van Schijk puts the car perfectly on the racing line. Andy King showing himself. Will he launch it? No, he stays behind. Tucks in. Both drivers trying to avoid each other best as they can, as they had different braking points into the double chicane or into the chicane. King losing a bit of time there, getting Trevor's behind. And yes, it is an impressive run by Nart Cox so far, but he is used to that comeback driving. And he has been helped a little bit by crashes, but difficult track to get up the road like that for Cox. Andy King dives into the pits, wanting that clean air, and tries to use that to his advantage to go through Van Schijk. Which leaves Treffers and Verhoeven in this battle for last of the drivers who are yet to pit. Verhoeven in the Porsche that in many drivers' point of view would be the superior car to the Mustang around here. We know the Mustang is a quick car in a lot of racing circuits, including Donington. But it's just so difficult to drive for all that torque in that big V8 engine in the front of that Mustang. But again, with almost a whole season under his belt for Travers in the Mustang, he should be getting used to the car at this point. Or at least you would hope so. Elsewise, he might be regretting life decisions of choosing it. Michael Thomas with a commanding lead. More than 6 seconds he have down to winning behind. So basically Thomas could start easing off a little bit if he so wishes. And drive more safely, but knowing Michael Thomas, he will probably just keep on pushing it. The battle still goes on for second position behind winning. Fredriksson, Walsh and Mitchells are still very close behind. Currently having a focus on Walsh as he's closer to Fredriksson than Fredriksson is to winning, and closer to Fredriksson as well than Mitchells to him. On board with the Mustang of Walsh. We can see how they Constantina up when they go into the big braking zones, into the hairpins, especially the first one. Bas are also opening up the gap to Kurt Peters, though Latil have caught up to Peters as well in that battle. With the championship implications, look at the rear mount on the Mustang, long stabilizing trusses to keep that wing up. When you see it in real life, it vibrates a lot more, the rear wing on that car, as it is maybe not the most of stable mount that they have chosen, and they have had some issues with that part of the car staying on. Peters must have been some sort of minor incident, as he have dropped to 14th. And Prixley have gone through Latil. There could have been contact between the two, but I'm not going to guarantee anything without replay evidence to back it up. But this means that Till have jumped up into second. That could put him into second in the championship as well in the semi-pros. But a long way behind Bas van Melis at this point. About 6.5-7 seconds that Till have up to Bas. So he will need to find massive pace and maybe some pit stop trickery to get that done. Maybe he's praying for Bas to have a bad pit stop. Ooh, a little bit of slide there from the BMW of Kurt Peters. Mitchells goes into the pit trying the undercut strategy. Replay inbound of what happened. That is Prixley, Peters and Latil. Ooh, and Latil just goes deep and pits Peters around there. Unfortunate. Which have left Peters with a little bit of damage. I wonder if Peters chooses to come in now to get the damage repaired, as well as a tire change and refueling. He stays out. And Mitchell's still in the pit lane. He will start moving short and he will come out in a very good spot on the track. A lot of clean air around him. Meanwhile, near the front of the field. Fredriksson very hard on the attack there on Winning. Winning loses control there on the exit of the chicane. Fredriksson now on the outside of Winning. Impressive that they're still battling this close. Who is bravest on the front of Fredriksson? A little bit of a wobble there on the acceleration, which means Winning maintains second in the race. This have all for the Walsh getting into the battle as well. Michael Thomas into the pits. Fredriksson comes in as well. He will try to get a little bit of clean air running, getting himself maybe the undercut on Winning. But Winning taking the temporary lead of the race with Liam Walsh behind. So now it's Walsh time to try and apply the pressure to Winning. Bas van Millis have what's that? That's Nart Cox that have just gone through Bas, at least he have gone through Bas at some point. But again, Bas might not have been fighting that too hard, as he is a man that will know the distances around him to competitors. Bas will, so he knows that he's not necessarily under pressure from any championship rivals, and he's more likely to drive a little bit more safely now to just try and maintain gap for the last half hour of the race. Liam Walsh still very hard on the rear ring of Winning. We see Winning getting a little bit of a grip loss, rear end slide there coming out of the chicane for the second lap in a row. Maybe there's something with the setup that just makes the car a bit unstable there over the curb. Will they come into the pit? Looks like Winning and Walsh both into the pit lane. Contact in the pit entry though, which means a little bit of damage repair there for these two drivers if they don't take it off in the pit stops. This will be very good for Fredriksson actually. If they will just have half a second longer pit stops, then Fredriksson would potentially be a man who could challenge for second in the race. Following Fredriksson at the minute. Let's keep following him and see what will happen when he comes down the start-finish straight and passing the pit road. In the small picture we have Winning there still stationary in the pits as Fredriksson comes around the final hairpin. Winning is moving. I think Winning will rejoin the track ahead of Fredriksson, but not by a lot. Now Fredriksson comes. Winning is moving. Fredriksson overtakes Winning. Fredriksson goes ahead into second in the race. Good undercut there from Tej Fredriksson, who goes into well, what will be second once all the pit stops have sorted themselves out. Only Travers, Partis, Latil, and Prixley yet to stop, as the rest of the field either have stopped or are coming out. Nart Cox with the drive-through penalty, speeding in the pit lane. That would likely have been. Nothing for Bas. Very good for the Dutch driver. We haven't seen Bas's mom in the YouTube chat for a while. I wonder if she's okay. Maybe we should ask Bas to find out. We do worry a bit. Maybe it's because there are no famous rivalry anymore, of course, between Bas and the other driver with the 2 1s in his racing number. But nevertheless, still going strong. I think that Bas will know he's got about 8 seconds to Peters, but well, Latil will rejoin the track. We'll have to wait and see. That's the driver that Bas will have to worry most about at the minute. Van Schijk, current championship leader, behind Scheckerman now in the Porsche ahead of him. Doesn't look like that Donington have been too kind to the 610 Motorsports team and Thomas Van Schijk. As he goes through the chicane that one more time. Still a few times you have to maneuver that again before the race is over. Partis chooses to stay out on track 1 lap longer still, so he gets to enjoy leading the race. Latil just came out on track, so he's quite far behind Van Mellis. I don't know, Frank, if Bas's motion stuff have been repaired. I think he mentioned that he was repairing it, or at least broke yesterday. Maybe he repaired it earlier today. If it is not repaired, then it just shows that it only slows him down. Andy King there with a little bit of a excursion, but does keep control of the car. Peters behind Latil. Latil, that's 5, 6, 7 seconds. He needs to catch up minimum about 8, I would rather say. Latil have up to Bas. Peters goes through Latil. Latil a little bit too late on the brakes, and there Latil goes around. With Kurt Peters staying ahead, this could actually potentially be a problem for Bas. If Latil drops behind Van Schaik and Peters gets involved in something like that as well, then the championship would still be in Van Schaik's hands. But if Van Schaik's still behind, Latil looks like. But was that Van Schaik all the way up in the battle with Peters as well in this group? It looks like it. Van Schaik is still in the battle for the championship, ladies and gentlemen. This could potentially be what could cost Bas the championship dreams if Van Schaik passes Peters and can keep Andy King behind. Then Van Schaik actually Partises ahead of these guys. I didn't notice that. Partises have had a great pit stop round there going for the overcut actually. So just forget all about what I just said. I was slightly wrong. But nevertheless, still a good battle between Peters, Van Schaik and Andy King here. With Scheckerman just ahead of these drivers. Looking from the roof and back from the DSRT BMW. Through the chicane, look how stable that BMW looks over the curbs. And the gap he pulls when they come out of the chicane. Hairpin 1. Nart Cox goes in to serve his drive-through penalty. He was doing quite the good comeback drive or recovery drive. But this does hurt the overall net gain for Nart Cox. But this could potentially be a big deal for Van Schaik. If he passes Peters, then it's only Partises that needs some sort of bad luck for him to become champion, or Bas for that matter. Obviously, we hope it will be sorted on track with no incidents, but yeah, we see. There Van Schaik goes wide, which leaves the door open for Andy King, though King slots in behind. He didn't have the necessary overspeed this time around to take advantage of the small mistake from Thomas Van Schaik. Into the chicane, we can see how that Ferrari is so good on the brakes, but takes a different line than most others, it looks like King does. So he loses a bit on he gains on the entry but loses on the exit of the chicane. Different driving styles from the different drivers. Van Schaik losing the rear end there a little bit through the first chicane on the exit there on the throttle. Coming down to start another lap of the race. King was in prime position early on in the race to challenge for the championship. But again, it just proves that you have to keep the car on the track to be in the positions that really matters. And that's what Van Mellis and Partises have done so far in this race. Actually, still we can see the drivers are still dropping their wheels on the left and right hand sides of the curb, so they're dropping them into the grass, which could end up in slow punctures that could impact the drivers massively in the closing stages of the race. It seems like they are too closely matched in speeds that it really does take a mistake for positions to be changed at this point of the race. Further up the field, we see how that Fredriksen's undercut really worked. He's got a gap of almost 2 seconds to winning behind, but still 10 seconds from Fredriksen up to Michael Thomas in first. But good call there from Fredriksen, taking the undercut, getting out into the clean air. Maybe the contact between Winning and I think it was it Walsh or Mitchells in pit lane that could have caused a bit of time loss at the actual pit stop with damage repairs. Could have helped him a little bit as well, as he didn't beat them out that much onto to track, but having the hotter tires and the momentum of being on track really proved well for him there. Still with the big push from Andy King, trying to stay close to Van Schijk. Van Schijk have dropped off the rear end of Kurt Peters. So Peters look at least somewhat safe at the minute for third in the semi-pro class, and that's not Cox, who comes up to the drivers once again after having served his drive-through penalty. So he will try to go past them one more time in this race. And this is the thing for Andy King. He can clearly catch up to Van Schijk again if he loses contact with Van Schijk. So maybe King will let Cox go through and then try to follow Cox past Peters when Cox will almost inevitably try for a move on Peters. But first things first, Nars still have to get close enough to Van Schijk to get the move done with only 18 minutes to go. Maybe Van Schijk will choose to try and defend. Or maybe King will try and choose to defend, as it doesn't look like now Cox on the outside. Or well, it will be the inside into the chicane, and yeah, and King just lifts off the throttle and lets Nart slot in ahead of him. And Nart now up into to 16th position. So this is critical for King. He needs to stay close to Nart Cox now to go back past, or at least to try and follow Nart when he tries the overtake on Van Schijk. Take advantage of a little bit of momentum. Could King try, or at least he will try if he gets the opportunity, of course. But it is what it is, and it goes as it goes. All drivers, they're putting their tires into the grass. Picks up a little bit of dirt as well. That of course the amount they pick up from that small touch on the grass will be driven off before they go into this sharp, fast right-hander in the bottom of the hill. Bollard goes flying as a driver just drives over a Bollard that looked to be laying in the middle of the track. Let's see, onto the back straight if Nart does have the overspeed this time around to make the move on Van Schijk. He does show himself a little bit, but not enough to shake Van Schijk. We can clearly see how Nart have a pace advantage through the chicane, but he was too close this time to actually get the run coming out of the chicane. through the hairpin, and Cox again so close to Van Schaik that he needs to adjust his line to avoid running into the back of Van Schaik. Final hairpin. 16 minutes to go. Turn 1, the corner where they put their wheels into the grass. Same this time around, at least for Schaik and Peters, not for King and Cox this time. Clearly see how the gap closes between Cox and Van Schaik when they go down the hill. I think Schaik might be lifting through the second left-hander coming into the braking zone at the bottom of the hill. Three-quarters of the race have passed. 10-second gap in the lead of the race still. And that is the thing with Michael Thomas. If you want to beat him, you need to stay close to him during the first couple of laps, so he doesn't get a chance to relax out there in front. As soon as he can get away and control the race from the lead, he is so difficult to catch up to. Doesn't matter if you can match him in qualifying. As soon as you get into the race, he will just get that extra bit of focus. Odelman have caught up to Bas van Melis. And Parties also getting back underneath 5 seconds between himself and Bas. If Parties overtakes Bas, then I have to go do some math to figure out if it's still secured for Bas there. But Odelman definitely applying the pressure now to Bas. I wonder if Bas will defend it super hardly, or if he will let him slide through when he gets close enough. Again, they are in 2 different championships in the pros and semi-pros. Of course, there's an overall championship as well, but when you have the opportunity to win the semi-pros like Bas, then I don't think that you will take any chances at this stage of the race. I think we're all looking forward to the Tier 2 race next week, as it will surely be a carnage-filled event. Action guarantee almost with Tier 2 racing at Donington. And that's of course the Tier 2 season finale that we'll be showing here on the YouTube channel next Tuesday. Same time as this race, so remember to tune in. Mitchell's still behind, winning. It is very difficult to overtake on this track, especially when you're so closely matched as these drivers. And at this point, Winning must be getting tired of looking, or sorry, Mitchell's must be getting tired of looking into the back of Winning's car. Ooh, that's Luke Walsh. Luke Walsh have spun around. Lapse of concentration maybe, or contact, hard to say from these pictures, but Walsh have spun around, still maintains 5th position, but look at that, Nick Vargas gets very close up behind. And Walsh now with maybe overheated and dirty tires. We can see Vargas pushing everything there, using all of the track and the AstroTurf available to him. He knows that if he wants to go past, then now are the best chance to do so. Vargas in the Haribo Mercedes, well, Mode 11 Haribo Mercedes. Walsh in the PS UK Esports Mustang. No doubts that Walsh tires are still not into the optimum operating window, but he does seem to have it under control. All the grass will be off the tires, and they will slowly be getting closer and closer to optimum operating windows. So Wall should only be getting closer and closer to his proper pace. But whether or not that he can actually manage to pull away from Vargas here over the next couple of laps will be interesting to see. 11 minutes to go off the race. And Vargas, he could potentially, with the overtake on Mitchell, on Walsh, secure a few extra points for himself. Don't think it would matter too much to what could actually be deciding for third in the championship between Walsh and Mitchells if he gets overtaken there by Vargas. Vargas, whose current best result this season are 9th in the pro class, so 6th will be season high for Nick if he keeps this pace going. Ottleman again losing a bit of ground to Van Melis, but Partey's getting closer and closer as the time progresses. Nardcock still haven't found a way past Van Schijk yet. But here we go. Nardcock to the inside, into the hairpin. And it looks like job done. Now Andy King needs to get as close to Van Schijk as possible and try it into the next corner. As we know, the Constantine effect will come into play. He does try it, goes a little bit too deep there and forces his way through Van Schijk. He will have to give that one back, I would say. Doesn't look like that Andy will do that. But this surely will help Bas further up the road. Even if Peters now or Partey's gets involved in incidents, then he will have the buffer of Andy King between himself and Van Schijk to take away the title. So yeah, Andy King in the pursuit for Cox. He sure does love chasing Cox. That's one of Andy's favorite pastime activities. Although people say that we apparently can't say that the King loves to chase Cox because it sounds perverted, but that's up to you, the viewers, to interpret. We are, of course, speaking of Nardcock. He loves chasing Nardcock. I don't know if that made it any better, though. Speaking of making it any better, Regan Mitchell's still with the pressure on Chris winning for second place, or for third place in the race. I had just gotten used to saying for second during the first half hour of this fine evening of racing. But winning, drive-through penalty for Nardcock. This time it must be for track limits. Second drive-through for Mr. Cox in this event. That will put him near the back of the field, which would be 20 if we have had another disconnect at some point during the last 20 minutes or so. But still, Mitchell's with the big pressure. on winning, but again, winning have looked so stable throughout this whole race. Only the error when he got rammed into the pits. Maybe he braked a bit too early, and maybe the other driver, well, the other obviously braked too late since they had contact, but Kurt braked later himself, and that's part of the cause of the injury. But besides that, Winning have looked so controlled during this race. Haven't put a foot wrong anywhere that we have seen, and yeah, as long as you can make your apexes and get early enough on the throttle coming out of the corners, then you already have done 80% of the defensive work that you need to do. Though the gap between Winning and Fredriksen haven't actually changed that much after the pit stop round. I would almost say that that Winning have caught up a little bit to Fredriksen, but again, Fredriksen could potentially also just be driving safe, avoiding the track cuts. That we saw Nart get a little bit too naughty with. So he will have to come in and drive through the pit lane at some point within the next couple of laps. 5 minutes to go of the season. It's getting to the crunch time now or never. All for ooh, that's Cox on Peters. It's getting crunch time now for Mitchells if he wants to go past Winning. Cox again showing himself there on Peters. This could indicate Nart doing one more lap. Nart is just out there to have fun. Remember, no championship aspirations for him or anything, so he's just racing for fun, which is also why we saw him not qualifying. And knowing Nart, I think he is having a lot of fun with the overtaking at the minute. And have had during this whole race. So back up to 14 for Nart, but he will have to drive through pit lane. Once again. Parties within 3 seconds of Van Mellis now. Though even if Parties gets past Van Mellis, I think Van Mellis would still be yeah, then Bas Van Mellis would still be crowned champion of the season. So there's that, even if Parties catches up. But Parties will have to go through Alderman first before he gets a chance of on Bas, but still 3 seconds almost here with just a few laps of racing to go. I would say 2 laps of racing to go for the race leader when he crosses the line. So 3 minutes for these drivers if they don't get lapped, and I don't think they will. Nart comes in to serve the penalty. Surely he'll drop to last, maybe not behind Verhoeven. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, he will drop behind Verhoeven as well. I feel like he is behind Verhoeven. Haven't changed yet on the timing board, but it will very shortly. Alderman with even though they're in 2 different championships, there's no one who are saying that they can't race each other. Of course, they are allowed to do so, and they are definitely going at it. We can see Alderman going a little bit defensive there into the hairpin, keeping Parties honest in his attacking moves. Defensive again into the final hairpin and goes too deep. There goes Alderman, which means Parties moves up into 11th position, 2.1 seconds behind Bas, and they are catching quickly at the minute. Though a second per lap plus an overtake, it will be difficult. .130 to go, which Then it's getting close and very, very tight with lap times, actually. Thomas could potentially slow down and make his current lap his last, and these drivers' laps their second to last. Or he can of course take this lap and then one more throttling lap for Thomas and give Patis another lap to catch up to Bas. Not gaining so much currently on this lap, but I feel like it's in the final sector where he, where Patis usually gains. But let's try and have a look what Michael Thomas does if he goes for another lap after this one. Or if he maybe already started slowing down. He's not going to his absolute highest pace at the minute, Michael Thomas. Oh, this will be it. Or will it 2-1 finish? Yeah. No. No. He sneaks it across with 1 second on the clock or less to take one more lap. Does Michael Thomas. And look at that, the gap have come down to 1.5 between Bas and Patis. Though still very unlikely for Patis to actually catch up and overtake. I don't think Bas is very pleased with Michael Thomas's decision there. Remember that Bas is ahead on track or further up the road than Michael Thomas, so he will have to finish his current lap and do one more full lap. And Patis knows this, he will chase down, of course. Bas will still be champion if he finishes second in class. I wonder if Bas have done the calculations before the race, then he will maybe let Patis go. Maybe Bas is actually running low on fuel and that's why he's going so slow. Look at this, the gap is definitely coming down at the minute there. Less than a second now from Bas to Patis. Will it be a calculation error that decides this championship? Hopefully not. But again, Bas now, Michael Thomas across the line takes the win of the race and the Pro Championship. Have only finished first in the races that he have done so far this season. Fredriksson across the line to finish second this evening. I haven't done calculations for any other drivers in the Pro Championship. By the way, winning in third, Mitchell's in fourth. Walls looks to be securing fifth position in the Mustang. Vargas couldn't keep up with him after all there at the end. Across the line goes Walsh. Vargas finishes as well. Bas cuts across the corner. But still haven't let Patis through. Maybe Patis will argue that Bas gained a large enough advantage there that it's worth penalizing later on. I highly doubt it. Now we go to the big screen with Bas and Patis. Into the final corner we go. And Bas wins a race for the first time in SSRI. I believe it becomes a class winner. And what a race he had to do to keep it in here. Donnington Park second in class. Officially, Bas is champion now. Kurt Peters finishes third in semi-pro, with King in fifth and Van Schaik in sixth. What an evening of racing this has been. Very, very worthy championship final, I must say. Let's wait a few seconds and see if any of the drivers comes in for an interview. Surely a few of them I would love to talk to after this one. Let's have a look. Actually, second place in the championship, Brent Quanton actually didn't drive this evening in his Honda. That is a bit intriguing as well. which also means that his current drop round will not be his drop round after all, and that's a longer math equation that needs to be done there. But yeah, great race this evening. A season full of good races, I would say. Haven't been a single bad race, and as we are talking about that, we are joined by, at least for the moment being, until the steward's done with work at some point during the week, Bas van Millis, semi-pro champion.
Is that the case?
Yes, that is the case. Also, did you know that if you had let Parties go, you would still have been a semi-pro champion?
Yeah, I was really pushing it at the end, and I actually missed my breaking point for the last chicane.
You pushed it for no reason, man. What are you doing? No, congratulations, Bas. Also, I believe first championship race here in SSRI. Or championship win. Championship race win, maybe even.
A race win, I believe, and also GT3 championship win for the semi-pro. I do think I won the GT4 championship some while ago, but I wasn't expecting this.
That's not the big leagues. That's not the big leagues, Bas.
No, we all know that, right?
Yeah, but I honestly haven't followed too much along this season, so maybe let's talk about the race first, Bas. Didn't look too promising from the grid positions, but a lot of chaos further up the field, and you managing to keep it all clean throughout the race. That surely was what done it for you today.
Yeah, I did quite some practice, and I did some coaching with Michael Thomas. You probably know him, the guy that won the race, and that paid dividends.
Yeah, it looked like it. Usually we see when you especially practice, then you'll just get taken out in turn one. Have you turned the bad luck from previous seasons? Well, obviously we can see that you have, but how did you manage to turn your bad luck from previous seasons?
I haven't got the slightest idea. I guess it's because my mom watches nearly all races, so that's probably my lucky charm.
We haven't seen her in the YouTube chat.
Oh,
I haven't seen her in the YouTube chat.
I only watch the race. Then.
She doesn't watch the race where you become champion. You have something to talk about at least later on.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be the main topic during the Christmas dinner, of course.
Yeah, well then you can watch the race together during Christmas dinner.
Yeah, that might be a good option. No, I wasn't expecting this. It was not an easy one, and it was also, like you say, it's a matter of being consistent. But the semi-pro field this year was really strong, and all the guys I was driving against are more or less at the same level. At least that's how I feel. So it could have gone any way, to be honest. And well, there's some part of luck involved that I wasn't involved in the incident that occurred. So yeah, happy with the result, and yeah, let's see. Hopefully, I believe I haven't hit anybody, so there shouldn't be any reports against me. But
doesn't look like it. Also, you would have to drop quite a few seconds to go behind. You would have to drop not just behind Parties, as he was 5 points behind you before this race, but you also have to drop behind another driver to lose out in the championship standings. Actually, two other drivers, as just the 2 drops would not be enough for Parties to go through. So a big drop would be needed. And once again, congratulations. But speaking of the rest of the season, Bas, great consistency it looked like for you, at least on the results. One missed round, that will obviously be the drop result.
Yeah, the missed round. I had to go to school for my son, so I had to miss that one. But yeah, 4th place, 2 3rd places, and a 1st place. So can't really complain, can I?
Now I would say that is pretty decent. That is pretty decent, and with the win, of course, as well. Although it would be funny if you got some sort of a very small penalty and dropped to 2nd in this race, then you would have become champion without winning a race.
There have been Formula 1 champions, I believe, that have done that. So
yeah, you wouldn't be the first, but it would definitely be a story that would be worth following up on.
Definitely. Yeah, I asked Michael to also come in for a chat, but I don't know if he's gonna. I believe he's currently. Oh, okay.
He's just having a chill, relaxing, going to the gentleman's room and stuff like that.
Yeah, I believe he had a 10-second lead in the end.
Yeah, he got that lead actually close to the pit stop round, and I feel like that he just controlled it after that. As soon as you let Michael Thomas get away in a race, then it's basically race over, and you know that you're never going to see him again. And that was the case this evening.
Yeah, he's very strong. He's very consistent. He's like I would almost say he's like a machine driving. If you also do his coaching sessions, and I'm going to do a bit of free promotion for him here. He even got me up to speed, so that says a lot.
Oh yes, that's a challenge and a half.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah.
Speaking of, there was a question earlier in the YouTube chat whether or not that you got your motion stuff prepared for this race.
No, I wasn't in time, so it was a very, very boring race, motion-wise.
But maybe that's what you need to win. Obviously, it works better without.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that's the best idea.
And from one championship winner to another, directly from Bas to Mr. Michael Thomas. Congratulations on the I would say perfect season, but missing a round and obviously not racing that. Not that perfect at the end, losing out on that one race win.
Yeah, not good enough.
No, I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, congrats, Bass, as well. GG.
Thanks, mate. Much appreciated. And I was already promoting your coaching session, so you're the reason why I'm up here.
Pay to win. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, that's the way forward, right?
Speaking of pay to win, I know that Bas is looking for drivers for Mode 11 and the endurance team, and he pays his drivers very well. Nevertheless, Michael Thomas once again a race, and again congratulations on the championship. But once again a race, as soon as you got off the line and got just that little bit of breathing room, then you were just gone.
Yeah, I was quite lucky in that sense because Fredriksson had a very good start in the Lambo, and I just managed to break a touch later and then just hang him out to dry a bit, and it opened up the run for my teammate behind to get past. And once he was past Chris, he also kept pace. You know, he was very close in terms of pace, and then he had a bit of an incident on the pit entry, so then released Fredriksson to kind of go for it. And I think honestly the pace on the second stint between myself and Fredriksson was very similar. I didn't really see the gap increase much, so you know, if it wasn't for Chris in the beginning getting past, it might have been a lot closer.
Yeah, we were wondering a little bit in the commentary booth if you're just controlling the gap from the leader, maybe driving safe, avoiding the track limits and stuff like that, because the gap wasn't moving that much in the second stint.
I had 0 track limits in the first stint, and it was absolutely perfect through the chicane every time. And then the second stint, I got 2 track limits in 2 laps straight away, and then another one with 20 minutes to go. So yeah, through the chicane every lap, I was just very slow, like losing 2/10 at least.
Yeah, but sometimes that's what you need to do when you have the gap in the front, no reason to risk, you know, and that's what the difference between good and bad drivers are. And the thing is, again, when the first time you make a mistake in a corner that gives you the track cut, you surely will make it the next lap again. It becomes habit so quickly.
Yeah, it is habit, and then you become like super hyper aware of that exact thing. Then you over concentrate on the brake inputs. And there was a lap where I did it was like a second off where I should have been, just because I was trying to think about it too much rather than just allowing myself to drive as I have done for 45 minutes. So yeah, you can get in your own head sometimes, especially when you're out front. You know, I know that it looks like it's all comfortable with a 10-second gap, but it's harder because you're just racing yourself at that point, and you're trying to every lap push a little bit more, and you just want to see green on the delta, and then you kind of lose sight of what you're actually trying to do. Then you've got 3 track limits, and then you're like, okay, rein it in a bit.
Speaking of other things on this track, the famous slow punctures that we often see on Donington, of course, with stints only being half an hour before pit stop. But did you worry about that at all? Or maybe you got some warnings about it? Also, question for you, Bas.
Yeah, I had a right rear that was running low, and I also recognized the stuff that Michael said about when you have like a decent lead that you start second guessing your braking point and making little mistakes and being overcautious, and that's where you lose out again on pace. Because if you look at Ridis Partes, the pace he had coming towards me at the race was amazing, and it's also because I was being overcautious in the hairpins and in the off-camber off-camber corner in the rear. So it gets in your head that you have a sight on a decent result, at least for me then.
Yeah, also that extra lap that you, Michael, that you made a Bastu almost cost him the class win today. By the way,
Yeah, I was in two minds. But Chris, obviously, I was talking to Chris, and I wanted to try and help him with it one last opportunity, maybe, for an overtake for P2 or drive through for anybody in the field. You know, just kind of stir the pot a bit.
Thanks, Chris.
But I did it at my own risk as well. You know, I again going through the chicane, really overthinking it that time on the final lap. But yeah, just took it easy. And I also did have pressure loss in the second stint, right rear also. But from like sort of knowledge of the track and stuff, I overpressured the tires. So around about halfway through each stint, they were kind of in the right place. And then towards the end, that's when they started to drop. It got a bit sketchy. But overall, it was quite alright. It really wasn't the worst.
you know, that is experience over pressuring the tires, expecting to get a puncture. That is next level strategy.
Yeah, it can backfire though, because then you've got overpressured tires for the first like 7 to 8 laps, and that brings its own issues. Like you get a lot of slip in the car, which then overheats the tires, so then you lose time. So you've got to be really, really careful for the first 7 laps or so. Especially when they're still actually coming up to pressure as well, because if you knock pressure out while they're on the way up, it's worse throughout the race. It's really strange, but yeah, it's just about trying to be careful. And like I said, I've done a lot of Donington. It's my favorite track. I know it, inside out. So when I started the race, I was just trying to avoid certain curbs for a bit until I was a bit more comfortable in the pressures.
Hey, you've got the SRO event coming up, right, Michael, on Saturday?
Saturday, yes. It's looking wet and windy at Bathurst, put it that way.
Yeah, it will be an interesting race with all the communities representing each other, and you and Kieran Pendergrast representing SSRI. We're obviously very happy that you're representing us with such pace that you've shown throughout the 2 seasons you've driven until now. So let's cross our fingers and hope for a good result on Saturday as well.
Fingers
the
crossed.
field is showing strong, so you've got your work out for you.
Oh, ridiculous! Yeah, ridiculously fast guys. If you mention Jardier in any context, then you know the rest of the field is going to be fast. So that, that's kind of the level it's going to be. We can only hope for certain things at Bathurst in the wet, and that is just to survive. And we'll see where we end up.
Well, wishing you lots of luck, of course, coming Saturday. And Oliver, thank you for commentating again. And yeah, we'll on to the next season. That will most likely start in January, and we've got something coming up in between for November and the beginning of December. So keep your eyes peeled on our SimGrid account and, of course, the Discord.
Awesome. That is very lovely. People do that, and remember to tune in for the endurance racing, which, of course, the season finale of Tier 2, of course, next week, which will be the next thing that we'll show here on the channel. And then, of course, the exciting endurance season that it's shaping out.
Yeah, and solo Bathurst for me in December, so look forward to that. Solo 24 hours.
You've got this.
I don't. I'm 33 years old. You'll be fine.
Okay, guys. Speak soon.
Thanks, guys.